Thank you for tuning in to All Things Real Estate. Once again, here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Hey, Brad, you know what this is?
A water bottle?
Exactly. It used to be Poland Spring, but now it's Origin. I guess that they got bought out or something.
Wow.
It still says it's Poland Spring water, which is good. But these things are life-saving. Not these things. I'm not, selling water bottles. But water can be life-saving, and it can also be a bad thing. So, Brad, tell me about what's going on right now for you.
Well, I think we should probably introduce ourselves first, shouldn't we, Gary?
No. It's the new way.
Okay.
We got to dive right into content, then we'll introduce ourselves.
All right. Content. What's going on with me? I've got all sorts of things going on with me.
I want to know what's going on where you've got a water alarm.
Yes. So as we tuned in, went to record this, I got an email from we have a cottage down the Cape, and I got an email from my brand new water heater. It's probably not even 6 months old at this point, telling me I have a potential water leak. And so it's alerting me to that, and that I need to look into it. It may have disabled my water heater. I didn't read the manual deep enough to know if it actually does that or not. So I'll be at some point driving down to check it out and make sure everything's okay.
But the point is this, and that's what the show is about, is, water is life-giving, but it can also do a number on a building, a really bad number. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I went to it was actually after a funeral. We went to someone's house and had the obligatory cold cuts. And we're all sitting there, and as a real estate guy, I look up at the ceiling and I see telltale signs of water damage. And as I looked more around the ceiling, it looked like one area had been cut open and all that. And I remember leaning over to my son saying, if you ever have spots like that appear, they're kind of the cloudy brown spots, you've probably got a leak, and you want to take care of that before it ends up being the cutout area of the ceiling. And I think that that's important. I really do, because people don't always understand. They see something like that and they ignore it.
Yeah. Exactly. You just think it's just a minor thing, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the kids kind of filled the tub a little bit too much. Maybe it made a little bit of splashing. I don't know. But you don't know. And as you said, if it's not water pouring down, you say, oh, well, it's probably fine. I don't really know.
So Sue had a problem in a house where I happened to be at the hardware store. And she calls me up and she says, can you bring home a mop? Sure. Now, Sue at that point was painting. I wasn't sure if she wanted a mop for faux finishes or what. And I said, what do you need a mop for? She says, the dishwasher has sprung a leak. I said, okay, I'm bringing home a shop vac. It turned out that the dishwasher had failed catastrophically and was, sending out water. Now, what's the big deal? Sue is a trained real estate professional. She goes down and she shuts off the main water to the house. But that valve didn't work. And then you call the water company, and they come out and they shut off the valve at the street, and it didn't work.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
At that point, her lower level of her split was taking out water. And what ended up happening was, it was the 3rd of July. We're on the phone with our insurance agent. We're getting ServPro out, which, nothing. You haven't lived until you've had ServPro on the 4th of July at your home. And they did a great job, but they're all about, we stop the cause of the water, we rip everything apart, and then you're on your own. I did see over the weekend that some of the franchises are putting things back together, which I think makes a certain amount of sense. But I am telling you that up in Maine, Sue had multiple layers of carpet on the floor that the prior owners had put in, including carpet in the bathroom, which is one of my favorite things to not like. They ripped all that out, and the 5-year renovation actually ended up being a 5-month renovation, because here's a case of, well, if you're going to take the carpet up, you really need to look at the moldings and etc. And do you really, insurance would put carpet back. They wouldn't put 2 layers back, even though that's what was there. But insurance would put back what was there. But you wouldn't necessarily want to do that. And then Sue being Sue, says, wouldn't it be nice if we take this wall down? Now, she's absolutely right, okay? It really opened the place up. But if you're going to take the wall down, then you have to do the floors. And if you're going to do the floors, because you want that to all blend in, then you go down to the bathroom, and you're not going to do it in there because we had carpet. So that ends up being 5-year renovation becomes a 5-month renovation. Now,
yeah, I'm right there with you.
Insurance didn't pay for that. That came out of Sue. One of the questions I have for you is, if you have stuff like that going on, is, Brad, how do people get money to do that?
So there's another. First of all, I'm right there with you. We had a similar situation, and water doesn't always come in the form of liquid. We had at our previous home, we had an ice dam issue, which when the sun came, the ice dam melted. And for those of you who are not familiar with ice dams, when gutters back up, they can kind of get up under the shingles and get in there and get water. It can get in and then can leak through the house. And we had a situation where I think this had been happening for a while. We weren't aware of it. It didn't create an immediate water stain. We didn't notice this until a while, and then the water started coming down. We started noticing. I'm trying to remember exactly what, a water stain on the wall, which was really weird. Usually, like you said, you see it on a ceiling. I think we noticed it on a wall. Maybe we did see a little bit on a ceiling. Anyway, long story short, we had a company come in, and you have, once they open up a wall, you have to be careful. If this has been something going on, you can have mold and everything, and it can become a very, very expensive proposition. They came in, they had to make a plastic curtain to tent it off. They put in special types of vacuums to suck it out, because you don't want to get mold spores into the rest of your house, right? So there's one issue is you got to fix the problem, but the other issue is you have to contain the damage that it's done. And we ended up doing that, and just like you said, we ended up ripping up the carpeting because there had been water penetration into there as well. And Cindy, my wife, decided that, you know what? I've always wanted hardwood floors. Now's a good time to put them in.
That's exactly what happens.
And that's where we were. And so, and again, insurance doesn't pay for hardwood floors. They'll replace the carpeting. So you have to kind of get with that. Fortunately, we were working with a good company that was able to help us as far as the mitigation of the water damage and things like that. Yeah. And so what do? You asked me, where do you get money to fix these?
Well, I was going to say, everyone knows that you are a loan officer and you deal with money, so you have infinite amounts of it. But what do the rest of us do?
Yeah, I have infinite amounts of it. Yeah. So the trick for, and this is true in my belief, is always prepare for the unexpected. Okay. And so what do I mean by that? If you have a home that you have some equity in, get a home equity line of credit before you need it. Okay. You don't want to be running around after the water damage has been done, trying to get an equity line then, or trying to refinance, it's not a great place to be. You want to have a line of credit that gives you access to the liquidity in your home and basically costs you nothing or very little, maybe $50 a year. Most home equity lines of credit don't cost much on an annual basis, maybe $50 annual maintenance fee. And so get that in place beforehand so that when you have something like this pop up, the unexpected, and it requires access to money, even if you're going to be reimbursed by the insurance agency, you don't have to wait to get the insurance agency's check. You can get people in there, you can get things done, you can get the supplies that you need, and kind of go from there, and obviously keep all the receipts so that you can be reimbursed. Some insurance companies may want to you to deal directly with them, or the contractor. I'm trying to think who we used. I think it was Mass Restoration.
M&A Restoration is common in Westboro.
Yeah. And so I think we used them, and they went directly to the insurance company, and then we had to supply the difference between the two. But it's definitely, liquidity is key, right? So a home equity line is the best way to go. If you need to, sometimes you can get a second mortgage on a property or a personal loan. We do those as well, and depending on the situation. Now, if there's major damage to your home and it's going to require an inspection, that could be a little tricky if you're in the middle, if it's going to require an inspection to get those funds. That could be tricky because now your home's taken apart and it's got this, in my case, this big tent in the middle of it, sucking out mold spores and wall wide open. So, that wouldn't have done well, but an equity line beforehand will do the trick. Or it's sometimes an unsecured personal loan, or a personal loan doesn't always require, depending on the loan to value.
So Brad, who are you?
Oh, I'm Brad Avergon. I'm a senior loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage. Who are you, Gary?
I'm Gary Kelly. I'm with Cassidy Realty Group. I sat down to breakfast this morning at Chet's Diner, and someone sat down next to me and said, I know who you are. I read your Community Advocate article. And I remember recently he had started to read it and then got interrupted, and he wanted me to fill in the gaps between what he had read and what was going on. Fortunately, I recalled the article and was able to do that. But let's take a break, Brad. Let's pay some bills, and then we'll come back.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Once again, thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.